Okay, just check if my screen is visible. Could you please inform your friends to join soon. Okay, so I think we can start. What did we discuss in the last session? Anyone? We discussed 2D list forms, right? Okay. And along with that, matrix problems. Okay. Okay. Just to recollect what and all we discussed, right? How to read, how to create 2D list, right? And then in that initialization, reading matrix from the user, correct? Then what else we learned? Indexing, how to access the elements through indexing and how to initialize matrix to 0, correct? Different ways of creating the matrix in Python, right? Then we saw addition of two numbers, addition of two matrices, correct? And these are the few concepts which we discussed in the last session. So quickly, I want you guys, those who have practiced, let's just revise what you have done in the addition of two matrix question, right? How will you do the addition of two matrices? What is the approach I told you? What is the first thing you require? Number of rows and number of columns. How will you read the two values? Using map, int comma, input dot split, right? This is how you read the number of rows and columns. Then how will you create the matrix A? What is the syntax? One line syntax. Anyone? How to create the matrix and read the input from the user? Done it. Those who have solved it should be able to remember it, right? How do you create the matrix in single line? Those who attended last session should be able to do it. We need a concept of list comprehension, right? Using list comprehension, we can read the entire set of row and column values in a single line. What is that I told you? So list of map of int comma input dot split. Then after this, once you come out of the split function, right, what you have to do? Yes. So slicing we have to use :C. This will help us to read all the row values up to that column. Then after that, for I in range of R, correct? So for I in range of R. So this is a single line syntax in Python, which will help you to read the row and column values from the user to create the matrix. So same way, what you can do, you can create a B matrix, right? So how this works and all we have already discussed. To those who missed the last session, you have to practice by yourself how this works. Okay, so for I in range of row, we are entering as many column values as possible up to this C, right? So this is a list comprehension technique. So what is the alternative technique? We already discussed. You can create each row and append that row to the main matrix, right? Inside the uh, for loop, right? For I in range of row, you can read list of map of int input dot split. then that row you can append it to the main matrix. That is the second approach, right? So whichever you understand, you can do it. Okay. This is how we read the two values, right? Then for addition, what we require? Addition of two matrices, I told you there are multiple approaches, and I also discussed why it is important to initialize the matrix. So if I just take a resultant array, if I just declare it like this, can I do the for I in, just recollecting the last session? So how will you find the length of matrix A? Here I'm already knowing the number of rows and columns, so I just write R. Then for J in range of columns, right? So what we do inside result of ij equal to a of ij plus b of ij, correct? This is what we do. But after this, how will we print the matrix? How will we print the matrix? For I in result, just print I. So it will print each row of the matrix, right? It's a simple logic. So can anyone tell me, will it work? Okay, let me enter the matrix. First 3 comma 2 comma 2. 2 rows, 2 columns. And again, I have to enter 2 rows, 2 columns. So what is the error we are getting? List index out of range. So this I discussed in the last session. Why this error? Because we don't have a 2D array concept in the Python. Everything is considered as a list. So we have to convert this single list into 2D list, right? So how to convert single list into 2D list? Very good. So we have to initialize them to 0. I think those who attended, they are reply, right? So how will you initialize to 0? Nested list comprehension you have to use, right? So 0 for I in range of column, right? So for each column of the row, we have to initialize the 0 for j in range of rows. So what is the syntax is doing? It is initializing the matrix to zeros, all zeros, right? So if you want, you can print it and check it. Let us enter the matrix 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is the first matrix. Second matrix, let us enter some of the values. Okay. So just check it out whether it is doing the addition or not. So this is the first matrix. This is the first matrix, and this is the second matrix, correct? So 4 plus 1, 5, 3 plus 2, 5, 6, 3 plus 3, 6, 2 plus 4, 6. Okay. So if you want to, yeah. And again, I told you, when you are not using the variables, you can just put the underscore also, it will work. This is one approach, right? Where directly we are accessing the number of rows, number of columns, then we are doing the addition. But in the Moodle, I think I had given you to pass this matrix to the function. So when you pass the matrix to the function, can anyone tell me how will you find the length of the matrix? For example, if I say print len of a of 0, right? So let us print this value. So this will print number of columns. Number of columns in the matrix. Okay. So let us enter 3 rows, 2 rows, 2 columns, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So what we are getting here, the output, length of a of 0, whenever you are printing, what is the output we will always get? If your matrix is like this, correct? So the number of rows is 2, number of columns is 2, and this is the A matrix, correct? So whenever you are printing length of A of 0, what is getting printed? The 0th row, total number of elements are getting printed, correct? So how many elements are there in A of 0th row? right? So two elements are there. So that is getting printed here. So indirectly, what does it tells you? This tells you that how many columns are there in each row, right? So the length of each row will give you the total number of columns in the matrix, right? So whenever there is a restriction that you can't access the row and column value directly, so what you can do here, instead of using C directly, you can write length of, which one you have to use? A of 0 or B of 0, because both the matrix should have the same order in this case. So you can write length of A of 0. Still it will work. So 2, 4, 6, 8 I'm getting because our matrix is 1, 2, 3, 4. Similarly, how will you access the number of rows? Let us print number of rows in the matrix. How will you print? Yes, very good. So length of just A or B. Of A, let us enter 3 rows, 2 columns. Okay. So 3 rows, 2 columns. So what I am getting here, number of rows in the matrix is 3. So if you just print length of A, so length of A means, so 3 rows, 2 columns, right? So 3, 2, 1, 5, 6, 7. This is our matrix. 3 rows, 2 columns. So if you just print length of A, it will just print how many rows are there in the how many rows are there in the matrix, right? So A of 0 will print number of columns and A will print the number of rows. So this you have to remember whenever there is no direct access to the variables R and C, that is rows and column. So you can directly use length variable, length function, and pass the matrix name. So here you will get the same output if you use this. Now I have one more approach which you can further simplify it using list comprehension. So without initializing also, you can do it. Suppose if you don't want to initialize first and then add, so what you can do, you can use the list comprehension technique to minimize both the work, right? So I will directly write result equal to, just like how we did for the 0 thing, right? For initializing 0. This is what we did, right? So same thing, we can do it for addition directly in the list comprehension. So I will use nested list, right? So you know nested list concept, one list comprehension inside another list comprehension, right? So here I will do A of ij plus B of ij. Okay, A of ij plus B of ij for j in range of. So what we do, we need to add each row values based on the number of columns, right? So what I have to pass here, number of columns I have to pass, correct? So then we will close this inside list comprehension. Then we will continue with for I in range of columns. I mean range of rows. Right. So this will have the same effect just like what we did here. Here we were trying to initialize with 0. Now just we replace this 0 with A of ij plus B of ij. Correct? So let's see whether it will work or not. Okay, here again. 2 rows, 3 columns. Okay. Enter 2 matrix. Okay, so what we have done here, 2 rows, 3 columns. This is first matrix, this is second matrix. So 1 plus 1, 2 plus 2, 3 plus 3, we are getting the values are getting added, right? So now just 4 or 5 lines of code will help you to do the matrix addition in Python until and unless you know this syntaxes, right? So you should know the multiple ways of doing it, but the most easiest is this one using list comprehension. So, but all of them have the same time complexity. You can use any method which you understand. In this case, we can't reduce the time complexity because we need both the for loops to access the number of rows and columns and do the addition. But the only thing is we are reducing the number of writing lines. That's the only advantage we are having with this kind of syntaxes. But time complexity wise, I think they won't make much difference. Hope you understood how to read. So please remember the syntaxes. And whenever you are dealing with the matrix programs, just try to use the same syntax so that your typing time will be reduced and you can solve the question quickly. Correct. So anyone have any doubt in this? You can ask me. So we'll go to the main important test. Important problems, matrix multiplication. Matrix multiplication is very important question. Every time in the product batch exam, it is a common compulsory question, matrix multiplication. So any doubts in this? Why there is very less strength today? What's the problem with the students? Do they know Python already? They learned it? Or they lost the interest? Shall we go to the matrix multiplication? Do you want me to explain this once again, anyone? Please respond. Lost the interest. Okay. So lost the interest means I think can there is no way, right? You can just do. Hmm. You can exit Luis Figo. I don't know who are you. You can exit the session. You need to attend the session if you lost the interest. Why you waste your precious time? Okay. Do plan your career accordingly by yourself. Okay. So matrix multiplication is a very important question. So I want all of you to understand this carefully. I think I already added the question also. Some people have solved it. Okay, this is a very important question. Every time they will ask this question in the product batch exam. So before trying to think about the logic, we will understand the basics of matrix multiplication. Okay, fine. So just look into this diagram. I think you are a bit late, RC. I don't know. I asked, I gave the time also. So basically, this is the list comprehension technique, right? How does it work is for every row in the matrix, we are calling this list. And what is this list doing? It is reading as many values as possible from the user, but until this colon C. What is colon C? Based on the number of columns. You can enter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 also. But if you mention the number of columns as 3, it will only read up to this value. It will ignore or discard the 4 and 5. Similarly, next line, if you read 4, 2, 5, 6, 7, it will read only up to 6, exclude the 7, right? So this is just basics of list and map together, which we are already learned how to read two values on the same line, just like here, correct? Then this is needed for initializing because compiler don't understand whether it is a 2D list or 1D list. So we have to convert that 1D list into 2D list. Then using list comprehension, we are combining addition of matrix in a single line. If you don't do this, you have to initialize it. Then for loop, using for loop, you have to access row value and column value and do A of ij plus B of ij. That is separately you can do if you don't understand this syntax. But if you could understand the syntax, how does it work? For every row in the matrix, we are calling this inside list. So this is a nested list concept, nested list comprehension. For every row in the matrix, we are calling this list. So what is this list comprehension doing? For every column in the row, it is doing A of ij plus B of ij. So everything is interconnected. So compiler first will see this part, then go to this part. Then in that each column of the row, it will do the addition of this and again store this result in the this another variable result. So it is all happening through the same line, right? And this syntax will print the each row of the matrix. Okay. So this is how it works. So you have to practice the syntaxes. Definitely, you will be able to do it. Okay. So those who know the matrix multiplication, what you are understanding with this diagram? See the diagram and think what you are understanding. How the matrix multiplication works? That is the fundamental, right? How the matrix multiplication works. Okay. So first say this, I have another example, I'll show you. So every row of the first matrix is multiplied by every column of the second matrix, right? So that will constitute your first index value. So just like somebody replied, the first condition for matrix multiplication is what? The number of columns in the first matrix should be equal to the number of rows in the second matrix, correct or not? This is the main condition for the matrix multiplication, right? So how many columns are there in the first matrix? 3 columns, right? Or how many rows are there in the second matrix? 3 rows, right? So you can read the condition of the number of columns in the first matrix, that is 3, should be equal to the number of rows in the second matrix. So both of them are matching. Now we can multiply both the matrices. Now the next question to you guys is, what is the resultant matrix size which you are seeing here? This is the resultant matrix size, right? What is the size of this? 2 cross 2. So in general, can anyone tell me what is the resultant matrix size in general? Because you already learned in first year, you should be able to tell it. If you don't know, means you have not learned it properly. Two cross two means just see the first matrix size and second matrix size and see how we are coming to this 2 cross 2, right? So the resultant matrix size is the number of rows in the first matrix. How many rows are there in the first matrix? 2 rows, right? And the number of columns in the second matrix. How many columns are there? 2 columns. So the resultant matrix size is always the number of rows in the first matrix and the number of, you can write like this, R1, number of rows in the first matrix, and C2. What is C2? The number of columns in the second matrix. So this condition you should always remember before doing the multiplication. Now how the multiplication is happening? Each value is getting multiplied with the column value of the second matrix. So 1 into 10 plus 2 into 20 plus 3 into 30, correct? So this will constitute the first index value. Then similarly, to find this again, 1 into 11, 2 into 21, 3 into 31. Similarly, 4 into 10, 5 into 20, 6 into 30. 4 into 11, 5 into 21, 6 into 31. So in this way, we are adding the values inside the two matrices, right? So you take another example here, which I've written. Yeah. Now in this case, what is the first matrix size? 3 cross 2. Right. Now the second matrix size is 2 cross 2. So can we multiply these two matrices? Yes, right? Because the number of columns in the first matrix is 2 and the number of rows in the second matrix is 2. So both of them are matching. So we can multiply. Now how I multiply it here in this example, as you can see on the screen. So 2 into 1 plus 5 into 3. That will give you. And what is the resultant matrix size for me? The resultant matrix size is the number of rows in the first matrix and the number of columns in the second matrix, right? So here the number of rows in the first matrix is 3, the number of columns in second matrix is 2. So that's why my resultant matrix is 3 cross 2. Okay. So now each row value is multiplied by the column value, right? So in before itself, you should remember what is my resultant matrix size. So you can just put 0, 0, 0 for your understanding. So now to constitute this 17, how I got this 17? So take the first row, then multiply by the first column. So 2 into 1 plus 5 into 3, correct? So that will give you 17. Similarly, to constitute the second value, same thing. First row should be multiplied by second column. So 2 into 2 plus 5 into 4. So how much we will get? 24. Right. Similarly, to get this 31, what we have done? Second row multiplied by first column. Similarly, to get this 46, second row multiplied by second column. Similarly, third row, we are doing it. So hope you just recollect this concept before I teach you the implementation in the Python. So just recollecting how the matrix multiplication works, right? So till now, we have any doubt with this? Yeah. So similarly, the resultant matrix size is always the number of rows in first matrix and number of columns in the second matrix, right? This is how we create the multiplication of the two matrices. Okay. Now coming to the logic part, what is happening you have to understand, correct? So you just take the two matrices. I will write here. So let us take 1, 2. Simple only we will take. What is the size of this? 2 cross 2. Then to multiply with another matrix, what is the minimum thing I want? Whatever the number of columns are there in the first matrix, that I have to enter first. So obviously, the number of rows in the second matrix should be minimum or exactly 2, right? It cannot be more than 2. So we will take 2 cross 3, right? So 2 cross 3. So that means 2 rows, 3 columns. So let us take 1, 5, 6, 7, 3, 2. This is our input. Okay, so you guys can just practice here. So tell me how to do it. So take another example. So 2 cross 2. So columns of first matrix is matching with the rows of the second matrix. So C1 and R2 are same. We can multiply. Now what we have to do? Initially, we can assume what is our matrix, final matrix size, the number of rows in the first matrix and the number of columns in the second matrix. So 2 into 3 is our resultant matrix size. So 2 cross 3. That means 2 rows, 3 values. So you can make initial values as 0, 0, 0. Correct? Now let us compute the values. So 1 into 1 plus 2 into 7, right? So 1 into 1 plus 2 into 7. Similarly, 1 into 5. So how will you compute this value? Can anyone tell me? So 1 into 1 plus 2 into 7 will give me this value, correct? Now to construct this value, what I have to multiply with what? Same row we have to multiply with the second column, right? So 1 into 5 plus 2 into 3. 1 into 5 plus 2 into 3. Similarly, 1 into 6 plus 2 into 2. Okay, this is how we have done it, right? So till now, I hope you don't have any doubt in this because it's a bit easy to just recollect. Now my question for you guys is understand the process. So what is staying constant in this and what is changing while you do the multiplication? What is changing constant and what is moving? So you know that indexes are, this is 0, this is 1. Similarly, 0, 1, 0, 1. Here we'll take another index 0, 1, 2. Correct? So 0, 1, 2. So just observe the first addition that we have done, first multiplication we have done. Each row is multiplied by each column value, right? So what is changing here? Like this, we are multiplying like this. So 0, 0, A of 0, 0 into B of 0, 0. That is the first multiplication we have done, right? So A of 0, 0 into B of 0, 0, right? That is 1 into 1 is done. Next, what we have to do? A of 0, 1 into B of, tell me, 1, 0, correct? So in first matrix, what is common? And in second matrix, what is changing? So each row should be multiplied by each column of the second matrix. So obviously the column will remain same in the second matrix. That means you can check here. This value remains same, but row value is getting changed, right? Row value is getting changed. Similarly, here for the first matrix, row value is keeping same, but column value is getting changed. So you have to find a pattern here to do the multiplication, right? Inside the for loop. So can we just use it? Can we just use two for loops, just like addition of two matrix here? Is it possible? No, because each row has to be multiplied by each column of the second matrix, and we don't know how many columns are there, correct? So we have to use another loop for the complete multiplication, yes or no? So third loop is definitely required to keep track of how many values we have multiplied. Then we have to go to the next index, then same process we have to repeat. So without two loops, this multiplication is impossible, right? So this is a common pattern you have to observe. So every row is getting multiplied by every column of the second matrix. So in that process, the column count remains same. Whereas the first for loop, the row count remains same. In the first matrix, the row count remains same. Now, to simplify this approach, right? Now, after this multiplying the first column, what happens? We move to the second row, but we again do the same process with the second matrix, correct? The second row of the first matrix gets multiplied by the first column of the second matrix. Similarly, again, second column of the second matrix, third column of the second matrix, right? So two for loop, one will keep track of number of rows in the first for loop. Second for loop will keep track of number of columns in the second matrix. And one more for loop will keep track of how many rows are there in the in the second loop, right? So if you take another example, so here how many rows are there? Rows and columns are there. 3 rows and 3 columns, right? 3 rows and 3 columns. Similarly, to do the multiplication here, how many rows minimum I require, depending on the number of columns in the first matrix. So I'll take only 2 columns, but I'll take 3 rows because it is mandatory. As the first matrix has 3 columns, means second matrix should have minimum 3 rows, correct? Right. So here, what is common and what is changing, you observed, right? So we are multiplying each row with each column, right? So the first for loop will keep track of the number of rows. Second for loop will keep track of number of columns in the matrix, second matrix. And third for loop, this is the second for loop, right? And the third for loop will help me to find out how many rows are there in the second matrix, rows in the second matrix, right? So with this, what happens? I can multiply each value of the first matrix, each row value of the first matrix with each column value of the second matrix, right? That means I'm in the first column. To access each column, indirectly, I need to go to each row, right? That's how it is. So each row of the first matrix is multiplied by each column of the second matrix. So we need 3 variables. One will keep track of number of rows in the first matrix. Another will keep track of number of columns in the second matrix. And one more will keep track of number of rows in the second matrix, right? So this is the simplified approach that we need to follow for the matrix multiplication. So till now, if you have any doubts, please ask. Yeah, so I is constant and J is changing. As Lakshmi said, I is constant and J is changing. Okay. So just like matrix mm, addition, what and all we require here? We require the number of rows and number of column count, right? But do we require only one? How many we require? We require basically this will keep track of R1, this will keep track of C1, right? The number of columns and rows in the first matrix. Similarly, here number of columns and number of rows in the second matrix. Can anyone tell me why I have not taken separate row and column value for the matrix addition? Only one row and column value only, based on that I'm adding. Why? Like I explained in the last session. What is the reason? What is the condition for addition of matrix? Very good. So for matrix addition, the order of matrix, both the order of the matrix should be same. But it is need not to be the case for matrix multiplication, right? They can be different. But what should be same? Only the number of columns in the first matrix should be same as the number of rows in the second matrix, right? So we have to read totally 4 values. Then each value, okay, this I have to enter only 2 times. One more important condition. What is that condition? Like I have already added in the model. What is the condition? If C1 is not equal to R2. This is what we have to check before proceeding, right? If C1 is not equal to R2 means, what does it mean? The number of columns in the first matrix is not equal to the number of rows in the second matrix. So what we have to print matrix multiplication is not possible. Right? We have to print this. Only if it is false, then only we have to proceed with the remaining operation. Right? So we can read the values. Again, I have to give space here. All these things should be inside else case. Right. So inside else, what we have to do, we have to read the 2 matrices. Okay, so assume we are reading the 2 matrices here. Similarly, just like how we did for the addition, you can take one more variable. First thing is you can assign them to 0. So 0 for I in range of, right. So tell me range of what? Number of columns. Now tell me, for initializing the resultant matrix, what variable I have to use here? Can I use any column value? What is the condition? What should be the resultant matrix size? Was 2 cross 3 and 3 cross 2. This is my order of the matrix. The resultant matrix size should be the number of rows in the first matrix and the number of columns in the second matrix. So that means it should be 2 cross 2. So they have to be initialized to 0. So based on this hint, what is that I have to write here? I have to initialize, right? So can I write C2? Can I write C2? Or can I write R1? I have to write C2 now because I have to fill based on the number of columns in the second matrix. Then for J in a range of here, what I have to find? The number of rows in the first matrix. That means I have to pass R1, correct? So hope you understood why I'm writing C2 and R1 here. For each row in the first matrix, assign 0 for each columns in the second matrix. Why we are doing it? Because the resultant matrix size is the number of rows in the first matrix and the number of columns in the second matrix. So that's why I'm using R1 and C2 here. Okay. So just first thing is, let us verify this, whether this much is able to work or not. What is missing here? Can anyone tell me? What is missing here? Incomplete input. Find the error in this code. Bracket is missing, right? Because it's a list comprehension. The closing bracket for the internal list has to be ended properly. So let us first do this. So what we have to enter, 2 cross 3, 2 rows, 3 columns. Correct. Then 3 rows, 2 columns. Then let us enter the values. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2 rows, 3 columns. Then this is the first matrix, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then second matrix is 3 rows, 2 columns, right? So 3 rows, 2 columns. So let me enter 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I forgot actually here. What is our input actually? Okay, so 2 rows, 3 columns, 3 rows, 2 columns. Now we'll enter the values 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then what I have to do? 3 rows, 2 values. So 3 rows. Okay, tell me what is the problem here? Where is the mistake I have done? If you are no, I'm not printing. I'm just checking whether reading is happening or not. Okay, if you want, I'll just print it for I in result print I. Okay. What is the change I have to do here? No one noticed here. Correct. So first matrix should be of what here? Here I have to write C1. Here I have to write R1. Here I have to write C2. Here I have to write R2. Right? This is what I was missing. So you should carefully observe whenever you get this kind of errors. Okay. So 2 rows, 3 columns. 3 rows, 2 columns. Okay. So first matrix we have entered. Second matrix, 3 rows, 2 columns. So is it properly initializing? Just verify what should be our resultant matrix size. The number of rows in the first matrix, that is 2, and the number of columns in the second matrix, that is 2. So that's why 2 cross 2, which is 4. So 4 values are getting initialized to 0. So up to this point, I think our code is working, correct? So there is no doubt until here. So initialization also we have done carefully. Now multiplication, as I told you, same thing, just like addition, you can do. What are the values I require? The number of rows in the first matrix, correct? Because the resultant matrix is based on that. Then similarly, the second for loop should be what I told you, the number of columns in the second matrix. So that means I have to use C2. Then similarly for internal addition, internal multiplication, we need one more for loop. For that, I'll use for k in range of what variable I have to write here. Anyone? I already explained. This is keeping track of number of rows in the first matrix, number of columns in the second matrix, right? So what variable we have to choose here is, again, it depends on your values, right? So if this is your matrix, correct. So each row should be multiplied by each column of the second matrix, means I have to access 6 and 5 here. That means I have to find the number of rows in the second matrix, correct? So here I have to find the number of rows. 2 into 6 I have to do, plus 1 into 5 I have to do, correct? So I have to access 6 and I have to access 5. I will access 6 and 5 based on the number of rows in the second matrix. So that is why we have to use here. So length of B you can use, or else that means the B's length is number of rows. Okay. Or directly, anyway, we are not using any function here. I can directly use R2. So R2 will give me the number of rows in the second matrix. Okay. Now inside this, how the matrix multiplication happens? So result of Ij, simple, equal to result of initial value, result of Ij into, sorry, result of Ij plus A of Ik into B of Kj. So hope you remember the syntax, A of Ik into B of Kj, right? So what is this syntax is doing? You can take an example here. So 2, 1, 3, 4, 2, 3, 2, 5, 1, 3. Okay, let us take this example. So 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, 2, 0, 1. This is our matrix, right? So initially, what is remaining constant? I is remaining constant. So I is 0, right? Initially. So that means first value we are accessing, result of Ij. So 0, 0. So that means for k in range of result of Ij. So in the place of result of 0, 0, This is our resultant array. At this place, what value we have to find, that is what we are calculating here. So result of ij, that is 0 plus a of ik into b of kj. So what is our a of ik? Initial I value is 0, k value is also 0. So we are accessing 2, 2 into b of kj. K is also 0 initially and j is also 0. So we are taking 2 into 2. So multiply it by 2 into 2. That is done. Next, what we have to do? We have to access 2 into 2 is done, and 1 into 5 we have to do, correct? So a of ij. After this, what we are going? We are going to the for loop. We are incrementing k, right? So now what happens? K becomes 1. Now we are accessing a of, sorry, this is 1. A of 1, 1, because a of 0, 1, sorry. So a of 0, 1 is what? A of 0, 1 is 1 into b of 1, 0. 1, 0 means 5. So k value has become 1, right, at this point. So a of 0, 1 and a of 1, 0. So reverse we have to do. No? So if I want to access 1, the index value is 0 here, column value is 1. But for the second matrix, I have to change the index value of row as 1, column value is 0. So 0, 1 becomes 1, 0 here. So you can just check any other index also, you'll get the same answer, right? Similarly, for if you want to multiply this 3 and 4 into this 2 and 5, what is remaining common? So a of 1, 0, we have to access, right? A of 1, 0 should be multiplied by initially. So into 2 we have to do, that is 0, 0. Next, a of 1, 1 has to be multiplied by b of 1, 0, right? So in that way, we have to access the elements one by one. So this is what this for loop is doing. Sir, can we use plus equal to like use? You can use plus equal to. This is for your understanding. Just like in C, how we use, you can read. I could have written same also, but just for clarity purpose, I have written like this. So this syntax already you guys know what is this A of ik into B of kj. If anyone wants explanation, please come and meet me personally. I will do the full tracing. But as of now, you understood, right? What is this doing? Every row count should be accessed with every column count of the second matrix. So how we can do it? By accessing I into k and k into j. So we have to reverse. If I'm accessing row value in the first matrix, I have to access the column value in the second matrix. So I have to reverse the index variables. So in that way, we can do the matrix multiplication, right? Any doubt here? So after this, what we have to do? We have to print the matrix, right? So how will you print the matrix? How will you print the matrix? For I in result, print I. Okay. So see how simple in Python it is, just maximum, I think 10-15 lines code, not more than that. But only thing is you should be careful about what you are doing in terms of variables. And are you missing any brackets, comma, or indentation? You have to be very careful about that. Okay, so let us do this now. So first matrix size is 2 cross 3. Obviously, what should I enter the second matrix size? Can anyone tell me? If first matrix size is 2 cross 3, what should be my second matrix size? Anyone? Very good. So minimum 3 rows I want. Minimum 3 rows I want. After that, I can enter any value. So let us enter 3 cross 3. Now, first matrix size is 2 cross 3. I have to enter 2 rows, 3 values, right? So let me enter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then second matrix is 3 cross 3. 3 rows, 3 values. So 7, 8, 9, 5, something, 1, 6, 7. Okay, so just verify this answer 18, 32, 34. 54, 83, 88. Okay. So to make it simple, you can use some online matrix multiplication calculators. Okay. You have a lot of websites for that. You can just use verify. Okay. What is the answer we are getting? 18, 32, 34, 54, 83, 88. And why the result is like this? Can anyone tell me why it is 2 rows, 3 columns? Because the final matrix is of 2 rows and I mean the rows of first matrix and columns of second matrix. That's why 2 cross 3. Okay, let us enter the same values here. 2 cross 3, right? So here I'll enter the number of rows as 2, column as 3. What are my values? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sorry. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Fine. So you can use this matrix calculator to just check whether the answer is correct or not in terms of like multiplication. If you can't do it manually, right? So two rows, 3 columns is my final matrix size. Then let us see what is our second matrix order. 3 cross 3, right? So 3 cross 3. What are the values I entered? 7, 8, 9, 4, 3, 2, 1, 6, 7. 7, 8, 9, 4, 3, 2, 1, 6, 7. Okay. So we can click here A into B. This is A into B. And it is showing me the resultant size. So what is the answer we got here? 18, 32, 34, 54, 83, 88. So let us verify. Are we getting the same answer? Yes. So 18, 32, 34, 54, 83, 88. Right? So like that, you can verify whether your logic is correctly working or not. If you're taking more time in tracing, or like if you're thinking there is some mistake in my code, you can manually verify, or you can use these online calculators like this to check whether your output is correct or not. Okay. So this is matrix multiplication, very simple. If you understand it, then only it is simple, because otherwise you will make a lot of simple mistakes. Now, what is the change for this I have done in Moodle? I think many people have removed my code and they have completely updated their own code. That is also fine, but you have to stick to the question. You can't delete the existing code that I have given. In that only you have to modify. That means you have to write function for that. So I have given the function, right? So you have to just implement the function. So if the same thing is given like this, means what is the changes you have to do? Okay, so see here, I've already given this part, right? So that means how to read the matrix, everything I've given. We are passing this matrix. But you can see, you can observe one thing here. I have written if result. Why I have written if result? Can anyone tell me? Only if the result, print resultant matrix. Otherwise, you should not print anything. Basically, we are verifying whether we can multiply the matrix or not. Only if we can multiply, then only we are printing it, right? So what is the changes you have to do here? Let me just show you what you have to do. So see here, what I have done here, if result, print resultant matrix. Before multiplying, in the function only we have to check. This is the function, right? Definition, DEF, multiplication, AB. So here, first thing that you guys need to check is if C1 is not equal to R2, correct? Only then we have to continue. If C1 is not equal to R2, what is the meaning? Multiplication is not possible. So from this point only you have to return none. Why I have to return none? Because if based on this return value only, we are printing the resultant matrix from this position, right? So if you don't return anything here, you will get error again. So if C1 is not equal to R2, you have to return from this point only to the main function, or else you can continue. You can initialize the matrix, but you can see the variables that I've used here. Why I've used here B of 0, A, then B of 0, B, because we are passing A and B. That means we are passing the two matrices. We are not passing R1 and C1 and R2 and C2. So based on these matrices, we have to compute the length of the rows and length of the columns. So just like I explained previously in the session, so B of 0 will give you the column. Why B of 0 here? As I explained already here, why I've used C2. So B of 0 will give you the number of columns in the second matrix, and A will give you the number of rows in the first matrix. This is because the resultant matrix size should be based on that. Similarly, I have to access the number of rows using length of A in the first matrix and number of columns in the second matrix by using B of 0. Then length of B will give you me the number of rows in the second matrix, just like here. How I directly used here. Here I'm giving indirectly. So based on this syntax, you can, and finally you have to return the result because I'm not printing the answer in the function. I am returning the result to the main function. And this will print only if the result has some value in it. That's why this condition. If the result has some value, then only you have to do it. Otherwise, you can't print any value. So this is the syntax you need to remember because sometimes they will give this kind of condition. In the other platforms, in the company exams, you don't have option to delete this function also. In Moodle, I have given that flexibility. So many people are deleting the code and doing on their own. But you have to stick to what is given, and from that position only you have to implement it. Okay. So this return none is very important point here. If you don't return, you'll get the logical error. So hope you understood this, how to do the matrix multiplication, as it is a very important question. So I've explained a bit, in detail. Anyone have any doubt? So I think if you keep practicing this, hardly you require 1 hour to get understanding of this. And if you type it 3 to 4 times, you will become perfect on this. What is missing? What is error that you are getting? Definitely will be able to do this. Any doubt in this before I continue? Yeah. Please let me know if you have any doubt. Similarly, you have to explore more matrix problems. I will just give the hint. So let us see some more problems on matrix. I won't solve them, but I want you guys to try them during your vacation time. Okay. So these are some of the famous matrix problems that I've seen in the company exams, right? So for example, let me take a notepad here. Say okay. So take some matrix. Okay, suppose this is a matrix, right? So what I want you guys to do is you have to add these values. So what values we are adding? The highlighted values that I have mentioned here. What are those values indicating to you guys? So I want the output as 2 plus 7 plus 25. Okay. So 2 plus 7 plus 25. Trace of matrix. Trace of matrix. What do you mean by trace of matrix? I don't know what you are saying. Okay. So basically we are doing the diagonal sum. Okay. So it is called as diagonal sum matrix. Uh, right. Diagonal sum of the matrix. So if you carefully observe, right. So these are the indexes of the matrix, right? So what values we have to add? Only this 2, 7, and 25. Correct. So how will you access this 2, 7, and 25? This will keep track of row count and this will keep track of column count, I and j. So as you know, right? So only when I and j index are same. So somebody already mentioned here, Lakshmi is telling the same thing, right? So see the I value 0, j value 0. So we'll get this 2. Next 2. When this 7 can be accessed only when the I reaches 1 and j reaches 1. Correct? Similarly, only when I is 2 and j is 2. So no matter how many number of elements you have, when the I and j count is same, then only we can multiply, we can add these values, right? So the conditions will be like this. Uh, Diagonal sum of the matrix. Along with that, it should be square matrix, right? It should be square matrix. So without square matrix, you can't do this. You have to read the input carefully. So either it can be 3 cross 3 or 4 cross 4 or 5 cross 5, right? So these are called as square matrix, right? Or 2 cross 2. So every matrix should be of square matrix to do this syntax. Similarly, take another example. Okay, so assume this is another matrix. These are my indexes 0, 1, 2. Okay, so sometimes they will ask you guys to multiply the lower diagonal or lower part of the matrix, right? So lower part of the matrix means like this. Okay, so lower triangular matrix, or you can call it as such, right? So this is lower part. Similarly, they will ask you to do the upper part. So this can be, uh, this is called as upper part. Okay. So first we'll see the lower part. Upper part we'll do later. Now see, I have to add only these elements. I have to skip these elements, right? So these elements I have to skip. Now tell me, how will you be able to get these elements? See the conditions. So this is I and this is J, right? Yeah. So Vijay Chandra has already given the condition. Others should understand that. What is that? If I is less than equal to J, we have to keep adding these elements, right? So obviously we have to use two for loops, right? So for I in range of rows, here it is doing some syntax. Okay, I'll just write I in range of rows. Then for J in range of column, what we have to do? We have to add the matrix elements only if I is greater than, or sorry, if I is less than or equal to J, right? Is it less or greater, Vijay Chandra? Yeah. So I think you have to think carefully. To access this half, we require if I is greater than or equal to J. You can check at any moment. This is 0, 0, right? 0, 0. Then this is 1, 0 and 1, 1. Then 2, 0, 2, 1, right? So at any moment, the I value should be greater than or equal to J, correct? So it cannot be less than J. So that is the main condition. Similarly, if you want to access this part, the upper triangular pattern, if you want to access that part, what should be the condition? You can observe J value is increment, J value is more than I, right? So at any moment, J value should be greater than I, or you can write in reverse, I is less than equal to J. Both are valid. Either you can write J should be greater than equal to I, or I is less than equal to J. So these kind of questions they will ask, right? So these are the two problems which I have told you. Similarly, one more last problem based on matrix. So it's better to take one more. Okay, suppose this is your matrix. So it's also very famous problem. Uh, you have to do the row sum and column sum. Right. So row sum is what? Row 1, row 2, row 3. So what is the sum of this first row? 3 plus 2, 5. 5 plus 1, 6. Second row, 6 plus 4, 10, and 5, 15. Third row, 8 plus 7 plus 9. We can calculate, right? So this is row sum. Similarly, column sum, first column sum, C1 equal to 7 plus 4, 11, 12, 8 plus 2, 10, 15. This is also 15. C2 equal to 15. Similarly, 9 plus 3, 12, and 18. C3 equal to 18. So what we are doing here, you have to do the row sum and column sum of the entire matrix. Okay. So first, let's think about the row sum part, right? So how will you do the row sum part? You have to just access this one. So can I just write uh, a of I? Suppose let us take this variable as row. So can I just take sum equal to sum plus a of ij? Can I write just this much is enough inside the for loop? Because I and j will keep accessing the row values, right? So what is the required in the condition? So if you take this as an example, so you require for loop, right? So for I in range, we will write something here. Then inside this, you will have one more for loop for j in range of column. This will keep track of rows and this will keep track of columns. And inside this, we will write this sum equal to sum plus a of ij. This will do the sum, right? After this, what is required? Can I keep doing that? Once we complete the first row, what happens? The control should go to the second row and it only should add these values, correct? It cannot add the previous 6 to this 15. So what we have to do before going back to the main for loop, this is the inner for loop, right? Before going back to the main for loop, what we have to do? We have to reinitialize that sum to 0 here, or after entering the first for loop, immediately we can reinitialize the sum here. So that after completing each row, the sum value get reinitialized to 0. And for that particular row only, we are doing the next sum, right? This is how it will be. And the printing part means you have to do print here only. After doing the sum, you can just print directly, print sum, come out of the loop and initialize that variable to 0 here only, or you can reinitialize here also. So both of them are valid, correct? So similarly for column, what you have to do? Just tell me. Now what you have to do is you have to add this column value, right? How will you add it? The same for loop, how you can modify? Changing RNC. Okay. So what you can do is just you can change RNC. That means you first access the column value, then access the row value. Here, what is the change I have to do? You have to keep it as it is, enter j, I and j. So two things are there. Either you can change C and R here, and you can keep I, j same as it is, or you can just change j and I. But this again depends on what is the condition of the matrix. If they say it is a square matrix, then you can directly change j and I. That will just help you. But if it is not the square matrix, you have to compulsory change C and R. Without changing C and R, it won't work. So try this 3 to 4 problems, which I told you in the matrix based problems, which are the very common questions asked in the company exams and even product batch exams. So matrix problem is, you can read up to this much, it's more than enough. So addition is important, multiplication is important, diagonal sum is important, row and column sum is important, right? This much 4 to 5 problems, if you know, more than enough. But you need a proper practice to understand and solve the syntax wise. You should be very confident if you want to do it in Python. But otherwise, you can do it in C also. It's not that difficult if you know the basics. Okay. But one more thing I have given in the condition for the code. I think for the previous question, you have to in this you have to just check whether the multiplication is possible or not, right? So sometimes suppose here if c1 is not equal to r2, print matrix multiplication is not possible, right? So they will use exception handling concept. Okay, that is the next concept that I am trying to tell you. I just introduce the exception handling concept. Then we will see some problems based on that, how to use that exception handling concept. Okay, so we can write your heading as exception handling. So what do you mean by exception? Or exception can also be called as errors, which can be logical error, syntax error, correct, naming error, type errors, right? So these are all called as different types of errors. And whenever you get these kind of errors, you should be able to handle them and print appropriate message. Handling means what? Suppose when you go to the ATM and if your ATM machine cannot dispense the amount, what does it will display? It will say that temporarily out of service, right? That means user will understand that okay, there is something wrong with the ATM. He will move to the next ATM. Suppose if it is not displaying any message and if it just if your ATM get just stuck in the machine and you don't know what to do, that is a serious issue, right? So user needs some kind of information to know what is the problem with the machine or what is the problem with the code, even if it is not working properly. So those are the edge cases. Again, worst case, it might happen. So if something like that happens, we should display the appropriate message to the user so that he will understand there is something error with the machine or with the code. So I have to just retry later on. Correct. So this concept is called as exception handling. So in general, if you want to define exception handling means predicting predicting the probable errors, probable errors, and preparing in advance for the right information. Right. So what we should do if there is something happens with the machine or with the code, that is called as exception handling. Just like if there is a storm, government will warn next 24 hours there is a storm in your locality. So please be at home and don't roam outside. That is also exception handling, right? So it is a very important concept even in coding. In real life also people follow this. So it is one of the main features of exception handling is one of the main features of Java and Python because it comes under O, right? This is not there in C. Exception handling is not there in C. It is an important feature of Java and Python. Okay. So just to get started with, let us take some number. Okay. So let us take some number a equal to 10. Then I'll try to divide that a by 0. Okay. So what is the error I'm getting? Zero division error. Okay. So you guys know already that a number cannot be divisible by 0, correct? So I'm trying to divide 10 by 0 and I'm getting this error, 0 division error, division by 0. So this is the error. Some people may understand, some people may not understand, right? So this has to be handled in some way. So what I will just do is I will use some variables which are inbuilt, try and except. Okay. Now what is happened? I'm not getting any unwanted messages. I'm getting just one single message, right? So previously I was getting error point, error position, where is the error exactly, and what exactly is the error name, everything I was getting. But right now, what I'm getting only the customized message, what I have given here. Check if the number is getting divided by 0. So this is a not allowed, right? So this is can be done, exception handling can be done in Java and Python using try and except block. Java has try and catch block, whereas C has try and, I mean, Python has try and except block. Okay. So whatever you are trying, I mean, the code that has to be inside the try block, just like if condition with a colon, there should be indentation, proper indentation, right? So what we are trying to tell the compiler is there might be a problem with this code We don't know. We might write some code which might throw an error, right? So whenever if this code generates error, this except block should catch it and print the appropriate message, if at all, if there is error, right? So let us take some valid number. Then I'll try to divide print 10 by 5. Okay, I'm trying to divide by 5. So now in this case, I'm getting only 2.0 and this is not getting executed because this is valid, right? You can divide an integer number by another integer number. So this is the basics of exception that you guys need to understand. So whatever code you are trying, try to put it inside the try block. Then in the except block, the customized error message that you want to print to the user, you can write here. That is the basics of exception handling. Now, one more important question I will ask you. So now, what is the problem here? What I've done? I'll write some other print statement. You ready? Then, okay, something like this. Now, what is that happening here? I'm getting indentation error. So actually here also there is an error, right? A equal to 10. After that, I've added unnecessary spaces. Then again, here, all the three statements are not aligned properly. Alignment is missing. Actually, what should happen? This should, except should catch this error, indentation error, and print this. But what is the problem I'm getting? I'm getting again the line number. Where is the error? I'm getting indentation error, unindented, does not match the outer indentation level. This error message I'm getting. So what do you understand by this? Try and accept. So indentation errors cannot be handled by the try and accept. Okay, this is a very important question. Can we handle the indentation errors? Right. So if you think I'll write code however I want, I'll just put try and accept inside that. I mean above that, and all those indentation error will be caught, and I will be able to understand where is my spacing error. If you think like that, it is not. It is not going to work because indentation errors cannot be handled, right? Any other errors can be handled. For example, I'll remove this. I'll just write a equal to 10, but I'll try to print b. Okay. Now what is happening? Since there is no variable called as b, I have declared variable a as 10, b is not there, and I'm trying to display the value of b, but it is an error, right? So b is not declared and you're trying to print, it is an error. So this is getting caught by the exception handling, right? So except is catching this error and it is printing this error message. But if I add space, it won't catch that indentation error, right? So unexpected indent, it is giving me the error, right? So please be careful. And this is an important message. What is that? Indentation errors cannot be handled by the try and accept. So apart from that, any other error can be handled by the exception handling. Okay. Then there is something called as finally. After this, you can write finally. Okay. Now tell me what is happening. Anyone? Observe the code and tell me. So there is something called as finally keyword. This should be always followed by try and accept. Okay. Order you have to understand. Try, accept, and finally. In that order only, you write the code. So why I'm getting this successful message? Though there is a error in this code. What do you understand by this finally keyword? Finally prints the statement in it whether the code is correct or wrong. So very good. So finally means no matter what, right? Whether the code is correct or wrong, it will always execute. So you can write like this. Finally, content will always be executed. Okay. So finally will always execute the code that you are writing inside it. So even though there is a error here, B is not there, but still it is executing, right? So finally, whatever you want to print to the user at the end of the code, no matter what error your code might be having, you can put that content inside the finally. So it is also important feature. Okay. And you can accept a particular error. For example, you can write name error. If you know the name of the error, you can write the particular error name. Okay. So it will handle that. Suppose if I write 10 by 0. Now this is not working. Tell me why. Successful message also I'm getting here, but this is not getting printed, correct? So tell me why. Anyone? So we have customized our error catching right here. So what I told the compiler is that you should only catch the name error. Okay. Apart from that, if there is any other error is there, it won't bother. It will only catch the name error. That means if there is a variable mistake, it will only catch the error related to the variable. So let us do that. Now I'll try to print b value. Now it is working because this is called as a name error, right? When the variable is not declared and you are trying to access it, it is called as a name error. So this is working. So in that way, you can customize your what you want to catch actually. If you want to catch only certain type of errors, you can give the condition. But this is a generalized except. So generalized except is it will catch all the type of errors. Okay. So there is no particular type in this. It will read and it will catch all the type of errors. Okay. So this is the basics of exception that you should know because when I have enabled some questions after the today's session, I will enable some questions. You can apply this try and accept concept in that. Okay. So in detail, exception handling, once again, I will cover later on. Why I want to go in depth now is this try and accept will be needed once you learn some advanced topics in Python, that is set tuple and dictionary. Based on that, you can use try and accept. And also in Python and Java, you can raise your own exception. Raise your own exception in the sense. Okay, so what I will do is if not type of X is int. So basically what I'm checking whether the input is type of int or not. If not, type of X is int. So rise type error. These are called as type errors. Okay, type error integer should be okay. So you can see it is also giving its own error and whatever the error that I have raised. So type error integer should be entered. Please check once again, something like that. So whatever I customize here, the same message comes here, right? So this is called as user defined exception. You can write your own error manually also, right? For example, x equal to -1. If x is less than 0, if x is less than 0, I want to write some exception. So rise error I am raising, type error I am raising. Similarly, you can raise the exception also. Rise exception, sorry, negative values are not allowed. Okay, not allowed. So what is the message I'm getting here? My own exception message, right? So compiler is not displaying its inbuilt message. Instead, it is displaying whatever we are customizing it. So these are called as user-defined exceptions. That means you can raise your own exception, customize what you want to print for the user. Okay. Some basics of exception that you are hope you have learned it here. You can just apply the same concept in the upcoming problems, whatever I'm going to enable. So this much is gone more than enough as of now to just use this try and accept and finally for the problems that I'm adding. Any other topic that is required, try and accept and final limits, I will tell you, or I will mention in the question to make sure you won't get any error. Use try and accept. So I will mention the condition like that so that you can check, read the question carefully, and one of this you can raise it. Either you can use try and accept finally, or you can raise your own exception also if I mention particularly there is any condition as such. So these are the some of the basics that I have wanted to tell you about exception handling. Okay. Any doubt in the exception handling? Anyone? I'll just give you one good example how we can use it. For example, I have some function, assume check age, right? Check age function. Then I will call that function. Then accept I will use. Okay. Function, how can we declare the function in Python using def keyword? So def check of age. Here I want to receive the parameter whatever I passed here into age. Okay. Then here inside the function I'll check if age is less than 18. Okay. Here I want to raise the exception. So raise exception, age must be 18, right? So this is the user defined exception I want to raise. Else, otherwise I will print eligible for voting. Okay. Simple if and else condition. Here I have to add colon. So you can see what is happening. Error occurred. Age must be greater than or equal to 18. So it is not, actually this code is not an error, right? If age is less than 18, it is not an error, but we are creating our own errors, right? We are raising the exception. So you can use raise keyword followed by the exception. Then age must be 18. Okay. Or you can also pass, you can accept exception as I or A, whatever exception as A. Then you can print what exactly you want to print in the A also. I mean, even the compiler message also, if you want to print, you can do like this. So let us see. So you see what happened now. I am getting this message also. And along with that, or I'll remove this. Okay. So this one is customized by me. And this one is raised by this if condition, right? So rise exception age must be 18. So this is going to be returned as a value to this function check age if there is error. So it is receiving the exception as a variable a, and whatever the value that it is passing, that value we are printing in this print message, right? So if age is less than 18, we are returning this. That's why error record is coming as it is, but this is customized through this condition. So you can do like this also, or if you feel it difficult, just write except, just print the error message. That is also more than enough, right? This is also more than enough. Error occurred, but this is not working because somebody has to handle or read this value, right? So for that, accept exception as E. That's why I've written that exception as E, right? So this is mandatory. So accept exception as E, you have to write it compulsorily. Then only it will be able to read what you are passing. I think what is the problem here? Spelling mistake. Exception. Accept exception as E. So like this, you can customize your try and catch block if you want to generate your own exceptions. This must just go through this and practice the matrix addition multiplication problem, which I've already enabled. So tomorrow onwards, yeah. So tomorrow onwards, I mean, next session, when is that next session? Monday. So Monday, I will add tuple problems, right? Tuple problems. Today only I will enable those who can understand. You can try it. If you have any doubt, you can ask me in Monday session. So tuple problems, set problems, right? And dictionary problems. Very important last session before your summer vacation. And one more important announcement. We will be adding around 10 to 15 questions in your data structure syllabus, right? To make you practice some more advanced problems based on data structure. So those who are interested can utilize and try to solve those problems in the model. Okay, we will add one more course. So problems to be solved in DS. So I will create the course DS extra programs, extra problems, right? So this is the course name, which you can see in your login. In that, I will add around 10 to 15 programs based on arrays, stack, queue, and whatever the syllabus that is covered till now, sorting and searching, right? Around 10 to 15 programs. Weekly, I will add, and I will see how many are able to do it. And based on advantages, if you solve these extra programs, once you come back from summer vacation, I will be doing some hacker rank contest. I will directly give the contest in the hacker rank. If you solve these problems, you can easily, confidently solve the problems in the hacker rank, okay, based on the understanding of these extra programs, right? So everyone should maintain their hacker rank account. So create today only if you don't have, if you have not already created the hacker rank account. So utilize that vacation time, at least spend 1 or 2 hours, not more than that. Okay. I know no one will go for 3 hours if you are planning for any trip also. You will come back within 1 month, right? 1 week, right? So you'll be having 2 more weeks. So at least spend once in a week, 2 3 hours, solve these extra programs, even in the vacation also, so that you will be confident to solve the hacker rank programs. And when we start the product batch exam, definitely these programs will help you. These are very advanced programs, and if needed, I will also cover some programs in the session also if you require it, right? So take the mentor's help, try to solve these extra programs in the summer vacation. Whatever you could solve, solve it. Once you come back from summer vacation, you can ask the mentors. You can meet me in person if you're not able to solve any of the few problems that I've added. I will discuss them during the session also. So Friday, we will have one more session, last session before summer vacation. And once you come back, we will continue. We require another 6 to 7 sessions to complete core Python completely. So some more sessions will be there, definitely. So Fridays is not a last session. Okay. So please inform this to your friends, and CR should also personally tell your friends regarding this information. Once again, I will post the messages about all this in the group before you go for the summer vacation. Okay. So I will meet you guys again and on Friday's session. And in Friday, we will be discussing these programs, but I will enable them today only. So those who are interested can start solving them in tomorrow's session. And those who not yet completed the list programs, try to do it because 30th is the deadline. Okay, so see you in the Friday session. Thank you.